All right, everybody, thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and feature titan for today, Jermaine Butler. Jermaine, thanks so much for taking the time, my friend. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to have you on the show, for sure.
It's an honor to be on your show.
I love it. I love it. And I can't wait for everybody out there just to dive in. I know there's a lot of anticipation to really just get to know you more personally, professionally. So if you're ready, man, let's go for it.
Go for it.
So I guess let's start with telling everybody a little bit about you.
So a little bit about me. Originally, we're from Philadelphia.
Cool.
So we came out here kind of towards middle schoolish. I went to work out here like at an early age, like right after high school. That's when MCI was the thing out here.
MCI, so there's going to be a lot of people remembering that.
There's
for sure.
a lot of MCIs out there. So that's when I first kind of dived a little bit into sales. I really wasn't kind of into it.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I did something else. And then when I did that, I kind of had like an epiphany, like I can't keep doing this my whole life and expect to get to where I want to be.
Interesting.
So from that point, my kind of way of thought changed. So it changed to where I needed to do something different to set myself in a position to, set me up, set my kids up, be, good on that aspect of things.
Yeah.
So that's when real estate kind of crept into my mind. So at first what I wanted to do was I was trying to be an investor. So I was going out, I was trying to, this is back when the market was going crazy.
Okay.
So I was first trying to get into there, and like I said, I was trying to do investing. So like this is when you were given. I remember, man, I went to Wells Fargo, and I was trying to get like loans. So it was like, well, you're not good for this, but here's a $5,000 credit card.
Wow.
So
come on, Wells Fargo.
Okay, so like I went out, man. I racked them up, and like I was so far into debt. So 2008, I had to file BK bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And that kind of affected things. So when I was trying to get approved just to do that, like they said, hey, you got a BK. So my old property manager at the time was like, made a suggestion. He was like, why don't you just get into real estate and then, eliminate the BK, learn the business the back way, and, do things from that perspective. So I'm like, okay, why don't I do that? So then I started looking into schools. So then I went to school at first, and then I couldn't finish that out because I had to finish out my contract for what I was doing, my current employment.
Sure.
So I finished that up, and then once I finished that up, I went to school, got licensed, and then just jumped right in.
Wow.
So jumped right in. So I started with another company before I came to Coldwell.
Sure.
Great people. I was there for about 2 years and some change.
Love it.
An opportunity came over here, so I jumped over here, and I've been over here ever since.
Wow.
So
I mean, to me, I love that aspect of what your journey was, and to kind of, I guess, connect or bring everybody back into that. You were in an occupation prior to where you realized at a younger portion of most people's lives that this wasn't the path you wanted to go down.
Right.
So I think knowing what you want or need is just as important as knowing what you don't want and what you don't need, and you address that. Jumping into real estate on the investment side, I think, is brilliant. Trial and error, things happen, the economy happens, people get that, right? But really taking that advice from the individual who said, hey, learn it from the back end, go through. I mean, look at where you're at today, Jermaine.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing, right?
Right?
So no regrets that way, right? I mean,
sound advice, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. And again, any thoughts or processes of this, not throwing Jermaine under the bus, but he is an open book, so reach out. He's a wealth of knowledge, true inspiration. So I do want to go into the next portion into that, Jermaine, as far as your career path, because your reputation is phenomenal in the community. Your people love you and respect you. You've done so much positive nature into that. But I want everybody out there to know really what drives you, what motivates you, gets you excited every day to do what you do to the level you do it at. And this ends up being the why question. What's your why?
So there's a few things with the why. The first is I'm driven to be sometimes trying to be perfect is a downfall, because nobody is.
Right.
Like I do my best to try not to make mistakes.
Sure.
And before, I kind of had to let myself know, hey, you're going to make mistakes. So
right.
You know, it's going to happen. So you know, I want to, number one, leave a legacy for children. You know, my children, and you know, do that, and then just be in this business to really be in it. You know, I'm not halfway in it.
Right.
You know, I don't want to be in it just to tell people, hey, I'm a realtor, you know, and I don't want to be in it for, you know, the wrong reasons.
Well said.
Like, so that's really part of the why, is to be the best. Like I said, number two, as far as the legacy goes, so, you know, with my daughter, I kind of, you know, just want to be like, hey, you know, we knew your dad, he was a phenomenal dude, you know, like he was a great guy. So, you know, like I don't want that, you know, hey, I knew your dad, he was a piece of trash, you know, blah, 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 you know, and then like, she has to go through her whole life like that. You know, I want there to be to where, hey, you know, your dad, he did business the right way, and you know, he was as ethical as he could have been. You know, so that's another why. You know, and then you know, the financial aspect of it is, you know, of course, you do want to kind of set yourself up. So it's very, very hard work to do. Right. I know, as you've seen, you know, some of the titans that you've done, the ones that are very well off financially, you know, they've done that. Very, very hard work, you know, and I've watched some of the episodes and I know who they are, you know, their names ring out here, and they've definitely, you know, paid the price, and, you know, those are some of the, you know, whys as, you know, you kind of look and be like, okay, you know, I don't necessarily want to be like him, but I could take something from him, you know, I could take something from him, I could take something from her, you know, I can take something from everybody and just recreate that and then be myself, and then kind of just drive myself to be, you know, the best I can be. That's what I really want to be. That's kind of, you know, my whys in this business.
Jermaine, that's big, and you know, just to for everybody out there to continually address it and what goes through it. Obviously, first and foremost, doing the right thing and leaving that legacy, not just in the community that you work and service, but for your family. You know, I can vouch for this guy, and if your daughter happens to watch this or listen to this, he is the best. He's amazing, true pro. And I know that so many people feel that way, Jermaine, and it's incredible that way. And obviously, because you focus on these things, we end up, you know, gravitating or becoming what we focus on. And obviously, that speaks volumes about you, who you are, and what you do. The financial aspect is crucially important, and so many people. I don't think enough people really mention that, and not to come across as it's about money, because it's not. You do the right things, the money comes. But everybody else out knows there, and yourself included, is the more you make, the more you can give, the more impact you can have. Exactly. So I love that. That's honesty, integrity, and those are huge whys in driving to do what you do, and obviously that's the effect that you've had so far. So and we'll continue to, Jermaine. Yes. So this is great. I want to go into the next question, and this ends up being a crowd pleaser out there. A lot of the viewers and subscribers of this series, they want to know or learn from the Titans and what they've done to grow their careers, what's really, really propelled them to the next level. So if you could look back at your career thus far, and pick or choose one or two things that took your business from one level to the next, what's that look like for you?
So there's a few things.
Okay.
I call a good real estate professional, you're good at three things. So you're good at business, you know how to run a business, you know how to grow it. You're good at real estate, you know contracts, you know the general business of real estate, you know what's going on, and you're good at sales. So a lot, like, people don't, I don't say understand. Don't,
hey, preach here. We're talking to the audience.
Sometimes don't get that. This is sales at times. And at times where you're showing the buyer the 40 houses, sometimes, man, you got to sell that house. Right. Like, hey, this has the walkout that you wanted. You know, this has the lot you wanted, the school district you wanted. Like, this is everything, you know, like, let's do this house. So when the client asks you, hey, what do you think? You tell them honestly. Every time, what do you think? Like, hey, I think X, Y, Z. What do you think? You know, so, like, I think when I sharpen those up, you know, I become good. And then the other thing, too, is that, and a lot of Titans have said this in the past episodes, and you've got to stay in touch with your past client database. Like, so many people that like, I'm still working on that. You know, I'm still trying to get that mastered. Because there's some people out there who really got a master, so I'm still trying to get a master, because that's so important, man, because, like, you know, the people who you feel thankful for that actually reach back out to you, who had the experience, you're like, thankful. You're like, dang, I ain't talked to this dude in like a year, you know, he reached back out to me, you know, but, like, the good ones you see, they're constantly reaching back out to their clients, and, like, that's one of the big pieces of advice I can give people is, like, hey, after you sell that house, definitely keep on track with him because some people change, man. Let me tell you a real quick story.
Yeah.
So I was over there. It's on the west side, the Mountain Shadow restaurant, the one that was on Triple D.
Yeah.
So I went there and I grabbed a cinnamon roll, man. So I was in there and, I Instagrammed it. I'm like, dang, look at this cinnamon roll, it was good. So I had a client reached out to me and he was like, hey, Jermaine, he was like, I see you back there, just joking around. He's like, hey, man, I'm looking to move back to PA and I'm trying to sell my place.
Yeah.
He just bought this place 6 months ago.
Wow.
So he's seen that video and then that automatically gave him the idea, like, dang, Jermaine sold my place, why would I do that? He was telling me, he said, hey, I work with a guy who's a part-time realtor on the side, I bought the house through you, so, since, I just, kind of saw your video, let me just, how about we come over and talk? Came over and talked, got it, wound up selling it, but that wouldn't have happened, like, if I would have kept on track with him, he probably would have just told me that.
Right.
If not anything, he would have just sold the house with the dude that he knew, as opposed to me, because they said, people, I mean, I shouldn't say they, like it said that people know so many other realtors is that, like whoever's on the mind first band, even though like you sold them that house, you did such a good job, like you wasn't on the top of their mind at that point, and they were in a need. So like when you're in a need, it's the first thing right there.
Yeah.
So like if I need a drink of water, it's right there. I'm not gonna go get my favorite water. I'm gonna get something that quenches my thirst right then and there.
Right.
So like with the people, like if you're not truly on the top of their brain, they're just gonna be like, oh well, so-and-so is the neighborhood expert, let's just deal with that. And then when you say, hey, how come you didn't use me? Hey, like, sorry, like you'll get the sorry, like they were just there, we just went with them, so like that's the big advice that I say is that, just, keep definitely track of your client list, sphere of influence, however you call it, just so you can stay on people's minds and they know this is the guy for real estate.
I mean, to me, they're obviously the core principles that you had mentioned, the three at the beginning, but then the continuous follow-up and nurturing, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many sales professionals that are out there that are watching this, real estate professionals, that they look at that and we get so excited about a new client, we do the best job we possibly can, we finish the transaction, we're on to the next one, right? And very few professionals follow up and follow through for years and years in constant contact that way. And there's so many different ways of inundation. I love the fact that you mentioned social media. And if that didn't ring through to everybody out there, let me rephrase that or remind you. You took a picture of a cinnamon roll and you put that on Instagram and you were connected with an individual and they were again reminded through your additional follow-up that Jermaine's my guy. And anything to do with real estate, whether the post or the conversation has to do with real estate, it's top of mind. And I love that aspect. And I think that's huge advice for everybody out there. Hopefully everybody pause this, rewind it, take crazy notes, call Jermaine. I mean, I'm just telling you, that's the tip of the iceberg with this guy. I kid you not. I mean, we only have so much time here. So I just love that, Jermaine. Huge advice. Huge stuff. Okay, so I do want to move on to the next portion of this. And this is the tricky part of this interviewing series. It's the challenge question. I always lead into it this way because it's tough to talk about and be vulnerable out to everybody, but we all deal with challenges in our lives, struggles, whether it's the past, now, or into the future. No one's exempt. But no matter what happens in our lives, I firmly believe that it's what we learn and what we can grow from and share with others that really, truly matters. And not to downplay hard times and hardships, but I think it's that lesson to learn and share that we're all human. If you are comfortable sharing a challenge, Jermaine, that you dealt with, please share.
Absolutely. So as far as challenges go, I think you kind of got to do those to learn. You hate going through them, but it's like a necessary evil. Awesome. You have to learn how to do that. So one of my challenges was I had a financial setback, like I'm talking setback, not like real estate setbacks where you don't have what you think you have, but you're still okay. Man, I'm talking where I'm going through change in my trunk, getting cup of noodles and, getting the cheapest stuff I have. So like, when I went through that, it just was, I had deals, but they were a while out from closing.
Right.
So, like I'm getting collection calls, rent's late, everything is just there. And like, instead of beat myself up over it, because you stress for a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Like you stress out, and then if you have a conversation with yourself, you're like, damn, I can't stress because it's just going to eat at me. It's going to affect my work performance. And like, you just know, like whenever you're stressed out that much, like it starts to take its place in your business.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't have it take its place in the business because then your clients suffer because of your personal issues. You know, so with that said, I mean, I set me back like 6 months.
Wow.
You know, so
Yeah.
challenges to me, like, they're not as emotional as some other people.
Sure.
You know, like, I've seen the show and I've seen some people do challenges, and like, I'm like, damn, you know, that's a challenge, you know.
Yeah.
So like with that one there, that's financial. Like I said, it taught me a lot. You know, it taught me, you know, to manage a little bit more.
Yep.
You know, it taught me how to, like, in case this happens again, here's what I need to do, you know, because like I really wasn't ready for that, you know, like it's just like it hurt, man.
Yeah.
You know, I remember I was it's been so long since I went to the store and I paid for change for something.
Yeah.
You know, as I had to pay change for it. You know, so and that was really humbling. You know, but you know, I come from humble beginnings. You know, it's nothing really new. But you know, once you grow out of that and you know build a foundation, when you have to go back to that, you know, you kind of brings back the old memories again. You know, I remember when you know, food stamps for the paper, where I had to go in and cash it because I was embarrassed to have it.
Sure.
So I went in and bought a piece of candy
Yeah.
and grabbed the change. You know, I was a kid then, but you know, like that's just that kind of brings you back to that. But you know, like once I got out of that, you know, I was able to kind of fix some things and you know, just put my life back together.
That's I mean, Jermaine, that's huge, and thanks for sharing. It's not easy to, you know, air your stuff out in front of everybody and be vulnerable that way. And I think that when it comes to finance, so many of us have felt that sting in different levels or layers when it comes down to it. But the big takeaway for me is your positive nature and thought process. You didn't let those situations define you. You didn't let them tear you apart. You were struggling through that, and it's painful, I get it, but you push forward, and again, you didn't let it bleed into, you know, your profession and go through. You were a true pro, and look at where you're at now, stronger, different prospects and thought process because of it, and I think that that's just huge. That's a huge takeaway for everybody out there is no matter how bad you feel you got it, please try to just push through, surround yourself with great people, and just know that you can get out of any hole, you can change anything in your life with that positive mindset that you have, Jermaine. I mean, it's incredible. Really inspirational. So, I mean, thanks for, I know everybody out there appreciates it. I know I do. So, I'm glad we made it through the challenge part. So, okay, we're through that. I want to go into the next question. This is actually one of my favorites, a lot softer than the last one. It ends up being the travel back in time. So, no one has a crystal ball, no one has a time machine. But at the end of the day, if you could go back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice or two, any age range, any time frame, what would you say to young Jermaine?
Man, I've thought about this a lot.
Okay.
I would say, because at the time when I was younger, sometimes I wouldn't just go for things. You know, I'd either procrastinate too much or, you know, I wouldn't give my all. So if I was to give advice to me, I'd say, hey, you know, give it your all. Whatever happens, happens. And that's what I've learned more about as I'm getting older. You know, I'm accepting, like, whatever happens, happens, you know. Before, I'm like, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? You know, what if that happens? You know, so, like, I didn't want to do that. So that would deter me from doing that.
Right.
Like, I was working with this guy at one of my delivery companies I was working with.
Okay.
And, like, whenever we did the pickups, we would try to head back to the shop early. You know, and then somebody would call pickup. You're like, damn, so you got to go way back out there and pick it up. So this dude used to do that. And then, like, he said something, and I never forgot what he said. And, you know, they was like, man, you're taking chances. And he was like, man, if you ain't taking chances, you ain't living life. And I was like, you know what?
I love that. Wow.
Like, it's not irresponsible chances, though. You know, but like, you know, like you are taking. So I would tell my young self, hey, take more of those chances. You know, explore more, do more, like get out more. You know, that's what I would, you know, kind of tell myself. You know, because I mean, we come from the generation of our generation below us is more outgoing as far as that goes.
For sure.
We come from the work, shut your mouth. You know, here it goes this way. You know, as opposed to letting yourself go a little bit.
Sure.
You know, so that's what I would tell myself.
I mean, when you're looking at it from that standpoint, Jermaine, that's huge, and really, you know, having that confidence to believe in yourself and push forward and go is huge. But taking those chances, and I read what you said there, and so did hopefully everybody else there who's listening or watching. calculated chances. It's the no risk, no reward scenario. The bigger the risk, sometimes the bigger reward, but there's calculation, there's due diligence behind it. But I'm telling you, so many of us limit our expectations or our end game and result in life because of the rules or what we put on ourselves. So I think that's huge advice. And that's not just for young Jermaine, but that's everybody out there, myself included. This is huge. This is so good. So I want to go into the next portion because this is actually one of the top crowd pleasers as well in the series. It's the feeding of the mind question. So this one comes down to, everybody out there wants to know what the Titans are doing to grow their minds, how they're expanding their thought process and really learning and growing. So I always lead into it with, books you're reading or read, podcasts you're listening to, or influencers on social media or coaches. How are you feeding your mind, Jermaine?
So I'm feeding it a few ways, by books and then, like the influencers that are worth following.
Love it.
I know you're a Grant Cardone fan too.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I love that dude. But he had a post one time and saying, watch who you follow as far as your influencers go. Some of them are just out they don't practice what they preach. Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's what he was saying. Make sure
Robert.
They practice what they preach. But for books, I like the real estate books.
Okay.
Like, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Gary Keller.
Yeah.
I am the type, I like audiobooks.
Love it.
I like reading, and every time I read, and since I'm in this business, my mind goes elsewhere. Okay. So like if I'm reading like this, and I'm saying it, I'm thinking about, oh man, I got to send that minutes in, I got to do this, I got that. And then my mind just goes to that where I said, you know what, I'll just do audiobooks.
Wow,
I sit and I concentrate and I listen to them.
Okay.
But, like the good ones, of course, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah. Like I'm a Kiyosaki fan, so I've read a lot of his books, Cash Flow Quadrant. He's got a new book out called Fake, if you guys want to kind of check that out. That's kind of a deeper book into finance. Like that's what I like, I'm reading a book on like mutual funds. I got recommended to a stock book, One Up on Wall Street. Okay. That's a really good one. That's a real short read. Then, like I said, the real estate books, like the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, One Big Thing, like a lot of those, like just real estate, that whole realm, that's what interests me, so that's what I get out there and do. But like I said, influencers, Grant's on there, Tom Ferry, I see him out there kind of doing his thing. Buffini, so like you get on there and you kind of see what they're doing, and then like if it's some of the HGTV people, you can have some of them more, maybe like, I follow, I love, listening.
Oh yeah.
So,
for sure.
Ryan Serhant does a lot, does a really good job with his blog. Josh Altman, he posts a lot of stuff too. So if you're in the industry, I'm following you and I'm seeing what you're doing and kind of seeing what, you're about and seeing how you run your business. I love when those guys, are like day to day. So you kind of see your day to day. The show just shows the big deals and kind of what they want them to do. But, I want to see your day to day. Like, what are you doing, in a week when you don't have listing presentations or, showing out buyers, you're just out there being you.
Right. So when you're not filming, when you're not on national television. And I think that, that's such a great mix of ways that you're educating yourself and going through. First of all, I love the fact that you're listening to the audiobook portion of that. I understand where you're coming from. That's how you're learning and thought process. You can do that, but at the same time, it's like your mind's going. So focusing and learning how you learn, I think, is crucial. Some people are doing it through YouTube. Some people are doing it through physical books or podcasts or through audiobooks and other influencers. There's so many different ways. Obviously, what I pick up strategically on that, and if everybody out there didn't hear that or see that, is watching other professionals in your craft. Where are you at? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to emulate in certain formats, and pick and choose bits and pieces, as you discussed earlier, and make the best possible version of yourself for your community, for your clients. But no need to reinvent the wheel. Pick and choose things that are already working and going through, but then try to make it better. I love the fact that you're doing that. True professional, really understanding the craft of your business and representing that to the highest standards, Jermaine. So amongst many reasons why I think this man is a real estate titan, that just adds more to that list. But as always, everybody, I will have links in the comments down below so that you can follow and feed your mind the same way that this man is. I'm super excited, Jermaine. I mean, this has been just packed full of amazing information, takeaways for everybody, whether you're in the business or not. This has been amazing. I want to wrap everything up with a final question. And this one ends up being the quote or mantra that you live by that sums you up as a man, as a professional. What's that look like for Jermaine Butler?
So it is more of a quote to where it's a, I'll say this, it's a get your ass in gear quote. What it is, it's a time waits for no man. You know, so like with that, like the most important thing is time. And like you can't buy that, you can't, like that's the thing that no matter how much money you have, you can't do it. So like, man, I try to just utilize time the best way I can. It's the one thing that's constantly on my mind. It's the one thing that I try to utilize. It's the one thing that I try to stretch as much as possible. So if I was living by something right now, that's what it would be, to where, you know, you can't waste time. And every time I do waste time, I get down on myself, like, dang, you shouldn't have done that, you know, like, you got to do this, do that, do this, because it's just, like, you just don't have time. You know, like, we all have 24 hours in a day, depending on how long you sleep, 6 to 8 hours, 16, 14 hours, whatever that is. That's the only time you got to do that. Plus, like in the winter, it gets darker, you know, so you got more limited time to get out there and do that, so time is kind of a big thing.
I mean, I think that's a true testament to who you are, and really analyzing and looking at everything in the best time for you, your family, your clients, and everything in the real estate community. I didn't know if everybody heard that, and just in case you did, when Jermaine said time waits for no man, there was a crack of lightning. That is not edited in there, so if you hear that, that was just perfect timing from this man. But Jermaine, it's been an honor to have you. You're a true pro. You are a real estate titan, my friend. So thank you so much. It's been amazing. And everybody, thank you so much, as always, for your time and attention, your love and support. If you like what we're doing here at Real Estate Titans, do not forget to give us a like on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, and have a listen on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcast. Live every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location, and we'll catch everybody on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.
Catch you later.